At the edge of the universe, 400 men and women are probing the immeasurable blackness of space. Their leaders are an Earthman with no fear and a stranger with no heart. Travel beyond our time and solar system, into new galaxies, into worlds beyond your dreams. Star Trek, every week, in color.
Oh, hey, serious Star Trek. Man, I'm here in the blue zone. I'm on a away team, shore leave, whatever you want to call it. But we've got our captain ready to go. Let's bring him in right now. You know him. I know him. He's Captain Fun. Hey, Larry. What's happening, buddy?
I can't get used to that. Captain Fun. I feel like I should be juggling. Hey, kids.
Larry.
Welcome to Fridays on the internet. There you go.
We're getting fun today with Captain Fun.
I love how you have them right there, like we planned that.
When I'm on vacation, it's my only release. Sometimes when I can't get out and exercise or whatever, I just juggle in the hotel.
We talk about this sometimes on $1 Million Comics book thing. I forget what that's called.
$1 Million Mailbox.
$1 Million Comics box cam. Just how much I admire you taught yourself the juggling during the coronavirus, so right or a little before.
Well, I juggled all my life, regular juggling, but I never juggled clubs. And I said, I'm gonna buckle down and do it. And now I can't stop.
I'm an old man. I hate watching all that stupid crap that comes across my eyeballs. And I stop dead every time I see you in your backyard. And I'm like, all right, here it comes. Free apples, right? And you start doing some cool new move. And I'm telling you, you keep doing that.
Well, we need something. We need something to get the eyeballs flowing and watching this thing. Hey, out there in video land. By the way, speaking of which, if you're not already, you should consider subscribing to this thing on YouTube. It really helps us out if you give us a like or a thing or a thumbs up. We might even hook you up with a Quatloo, and you could be a super fan. Show that Quatloo, Larry. Yeah, beautiful. I was just watching that classic episode with the Game Masters and with Kirk with the fighting on the giant Quatloo floor. I'd almost forgotten about that the ring looks like
that's where it comes from. Yeah,
so great. I know,
I haven't seen that one for a while. I'm gonna have to watch that one again. Oh my god, dude!
You could be a super fan.
I'm so glad you pulled this up.
Chris Saggs, who's so good. He's not only is he 3D printing stuff, he's 3D printing himself into these things sometimes. If you look real carefully down there, you can see Chris's shiny noggin right there.
I think he's really onto something there. Obviously, that's just the reflection. But I think there's a thing for that. You know, somebody does cat and dog symbols, like the old next gen communicator. So see the oval? Mm-hmm. Just a picture either a cat head or a dog head on the left and then a tail curling around. And for some reason, he's made tens of thousands of those and people love that. So, oh my God, how do you get better than that? Do a blank communicator where you can put your grandson's picture in it, you know? Oh my God, I saw that instantly. I was like, Saggs, quit your job and make that happen. There he is. He's blushing.
We got no sound effects. I'm cut off from sound effects here, Larry, in the blue area of the moon. There's no, the sound doesn't transmit the same way, so I can't make it happen.
Well, you could just say verified, right?
I can't verified. Verified. Just lacks it. I need that teletype sound too.
All right. So hey, I don't mean to. It sounds like we're getting into Star Trek. I don't mean to
Star Trek it, baby. That's what we're here for.
Take the turn off the exit too fast. But you said you said the thing about the special effects, and I think verified, and that's obviously Majel Barrett, Roddenberry's voice as the ship's computer from the original series, and some brainiac on Facebook. It wasn't in the Star Trek fan club. I think it was on my page. But some brainiac I know said if they had any balls whatsoever, they would have Jenna Bush, I forget her name, the actress who's playing Nurse Chapel, to be the voice of all the computers across the Federation.
Oh, that would be pretty cool.
Because she's accepted the mantle from Majel Barrett Roddenberry.
Totally. That could be like a future Easter egg in the series. They got.
And I was like, if Rebecca Romijn can't play both characters, then that you have to do something like that to go the other way, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, all right. I'll figure out. Somebody will claim credit for that, and I'll give them.
It's barely even connecting to me that what you're saying, like the original number one was Major Barrett, who was Nurse Chapel, right? Who was supposed to be the original series, and she was involved with Roddenberry, right? She
got there. They were married for years,
so it's pure nepotism.
I mean, I don't know if. I don't know. Is Tim Robbins putting Susan Sarandon in stuff pure nepotism, or is it just a cool way to shoot a movie in Hawaii with your wife? You know what I mean?
Maybe. It strikes me more of a Clint Eastwood, what's her name scenario. I forgot her.
Oh, yeah. Susan. Yeah.
Maybe? I don't even remember.
It's so unfair, but, it's Ted Lasso. Tough but fair. Football is life.
All right, Larry. So let's get into Star Trek a little bit, though, dude. Let's get into this week's episode.
Star Trek.
Price is going to join us. I saw nothing but hate, and I just watched it. So when I came in, I was expecting like, oh, this is going to really stink. But I thought it was. I thought it was okay.
I could just tell you what I thought. I don't understand what Star Trek fans want anymore. Like, there's waves of people. So I agree. I saw nothing but negative, but it wasn't the stuff I was reading wasn't my problem with it. I thought that episode was great, right? If you're just looking at it intellectually, that's fine. But hey, hello pop culture. If you're just nobody's doing entertainment as an exercise, right? If they do, it never works. Like Cop Rock, or there was this comic called Planet of the Capes one that was very try hard. Nobody got it. But I don't know. I went into self-deprecation there. I forgot. But this one, I was a little disappointed in it because I never respond to kid protagonists. And then because there's never any real jeopardy. Or in this case where there is real jeopardy, it's so fucking dark that I just don't dig it. And
I thought when he got kidnapped, and spoiler alert, folks, but when he got kidnapped and then the ship blew up, I really thought maybe he was dead. And I was like, whoa, that's dark. And then I know he's just hiding. And I'm like, oh, it's fun. And it's like
much more dark.
We're just going to plug his brain into this fucking thing for the rest
of
his
his life soul out. Yeah.
And I have a feeling that's another kid. It's another one of those episodes. And I feel like almost every and maybe just it's the first season you're going to do this. But every one of them has laid eggs for what we can see the return of these characters in future episodes. So like, we're going to come back and the guy's father now is fighting against it. And the kid, they didn't really, is he dead? They didn't really go that far.
No, but that's what I was going to say, that I was horrifically impressed with their ability to sync up the schedules of the rise of the Ascension at the exact moment that they needed that guy to plug in because they had absolutely drained the tank of the last one. Well, you get kind of the idea that it's there for a while, but because you can't have Ascension parties once every 12 hours, right?
Right.
Society wouldn't run that way. But so he's not dead. He's just I mean.
But what happened to the previous Ascendee? Did I miss that, or did they pull him?
As they were bringing in the kid and the girlfriend and Pike, they were wheeling out this like tray.
Oh, I totally missed that.
And it was covered in cloth, and then the kid opened it up, and there was like this jump scare, skeletal remains of a child. Right?
I totally must have been like in the out of the film for a second.
Yeah. So there was a bit where they totally sold you. It was awesome visual storytelling because that's pretty dense, right? You're like, well, whatever they're doing in there is not good and it actually killed somebody, which that's pretty cool. Like, because I love comics so much, I just love telling the story with an image or an icon or a logo or something. So I thought that was pretty deft. Like I said, I mean, if you analyze the whole thing, it's actually kind of a great episode. Pike's got his hair. Like,
I mean, it really is the volcano god, the natives sacrificing doing child sacrifice to their god for reasons they don't even quite understand anymore. They're like, we don't even know why it's got to be a kid. They just told us kids. Back when Jeffrey Epstein was running everything, he said, just make sure they're under 16. No, I
don't know. I don't know.
So I didn't quite get that. They didn't quite spell it out enough, maybe for me. I mean, I was paying fairly reasonably close attention, but I was in my hotel room watching on my phone, so I probably got distracted.
Yeah.
But I thought there was a couple weak parts. I kind of like the Lon Noonien Singh Uhura training bits a little bit. I thought it was kind of cool. I liked Pike actively mocking his officers, like doing an impersonation of the head security officer.
All right.
That seems like he's very the casual captain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing that is so impressive about his take on that. Anson Mount, I mean, he's definitely the Clark Gregg of this show, where he's not ever going to get the props for how much heavy lifting he's doing. But like, you totally see how he's the guy that you follow into battle, and if you live, he's got the first round of beers. Come on, let's hang out, everybody. Right? Because between that and him calling Ortega's his navigation officer by her first name the whole time,
that's killing it.
I just can't take it. It's just like, lock photon torpedoes and let's blow them straight to hell, Erica. It's just like, what? And
he should be calling him, I think.
But
because I was really surprised he didn't that Uhura called Noonien Singh sir.
Right.
But I think maybe they don't want to say Mr. Ortega's. You know what I mean? They don't want to use the Mr. thing.
Yeah, I mean, probably that's probably it. But like, as a Star Trek fan, didn't we hear all of Wrath of Khan were calling him Mr. Savic the whole time? And
no, totally no, which I love. But I think in this day and age, maybe it doesn't fly.
I think that you're right that was the end of like a week's worth of meetings about it, where they were like, it doesn't matter. Oh no, people get offended. Well, people will not be offended. Let's just fucking call her Erica. I mean, that took him a week.
They still say sir to female officers, which I always found a little interesting.
I never had trouble with that because it's a title, right? So little s in American English is an honorific, but like it doesn't really bother me because I'm used to like Sir James Bond and Sir Paul McCartney. So yes, sir, military person who happens to be a girl. That doesn't really bother me.
It's very patriarchy reinforcing, which is fine. So it just surprises me that they even would still do it in that instance, but not do the Mr. thing, I guess. It's like, there's a few things that are inconsistent about this Star Trek universe. Like, they really haven't cured most disease by the time of this show.
There's a lot of stuff that you kind of have to just squint at so you get storytelling, conflict, and narrative. You know what I mean? It's like, you're absolutely right. Like, why is,
I mean, one episode they're beaming stuff into people's eyeballs and they're genetically manipulating your ears, and they're able to do all this crazy shit. And then the next episode they're like, oh, that stuff is totally taboo. And then they're like, oh, we can't cure, my daughter's got, the sniffles or whatever. She's got eczema, the heartbreak of eczema, and we haven't cured that yet. I'm not buying it.
I agree. I mean, that's why I couldn't take Picard seriously. That whole like, whatever aneurysm syndrome he had that they saddled him with at the end of the show. They of TNG, they have to like deal with in this, and it's just like, you know, I get Kirk needs glasses because he's allergic to Retinax. That's actually kind of cute, right? You're selling the passage of time and in a way that's more visual storytelling, right? Every time he pulls his glasses out, you go, "Oh, I feel emasculated. I hope a bridge doesn't fall on me at the end of my life." But I don't know.
But also, they hadn't invented LASIK yet when that movie was made, so it's like no, they didn't really think about that.
Yeah, man, I think you're right. 86.
I think that's the real reason. Hey, yeah. Philo. So this week was very TNG. Like I heard a little bit of buzz around that too, like people saying that. I guess I'm not thinking what in particular made it more TNG like. No,
yeah, I totally know what you mean because it was a little heavy-handed on the preachiness that you sort of got in the 90s, like season 3 stuff. Definitely, like don't catch a football in the shrubbery, Wesley. Oh no, now you have to die. Like one of those episodes. So. Sorry.
It's all right. And Roy, I so love this bridge. Me want ship. I keep agreeing. This is the thing that at least the foundation of the show, the effects are good. We like the actors. There have been a handful of episodes we really liked and a handful so far that maybe are not as good. But there hasn't been anything yet that's like driving me away. There's nothing the only thing that makes me want to I have to watch it every week is this show, frankly. But
you wouldn't watch it
besides any of that other Star Trek for the past half a decade at least.
You wouldn't watch any of the Star Trek stuff if we weren't talking about it?
I would have probably watched, I'll be honest, I might have checked out the first episode out of curiosity.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would be 6 deep.
Huh. That's cool.
I don't know.
I'm like such a fresh breath of fresh air after the last 5 years of nonsense.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, TV
at least there's Star Trek shows now.
TV is just losing its grip on me a little. In general, or maybe I'm just too old for it. And honestly, Larry, how many more Star Trek reboots do you think we will see in our lifetime? Let's pretend that we're close to the same age. I'm actually 300 in my planet in blue years.
I feel strangely attacked.
No, I'm far older, Larry. Far older.
So what do you figure in the next 20 years? Say how many more Star Treks?
I hope I live longer than that, but I hope I don't care by
what do you 30 years?
Yeah. Maybe I mean, will there be Star Trek say 20 years from now?
Yeah, and as Exhibit 1, I submit Doctor Who. Right? I mean, that's been going on. I'm 6 weeks older than Doctor Who. That's how old it is. So I'm such a nerd. I figured that out once. Wait, when did that premiere? 63. Okay, November. Fuck you, Doctor Who. I'm the older brother. Anyway.
But at what point does it lose its relevance? Is it only when we're really in outer space and exploring?
I'm with you though. I just lost between the coronavirus and being old and everything, having to keep track of 500 streaming channels. I've completely lost the real fervor I had for watching television.
Isn't it wild?
So, I mean, I don't think there's any one finger to blame, but I agree with you. That's what's going on now. So it has to be kind of event-like to catch my attention at all. Like, I love that show Barry, and season 3 started a couple weeks ago, and I was like, wait. And then in the old days, I would have just been mad, and now it's like, oh, great, I have 3 episodes to catch up with. Excellent. You know what I mean? It's so opposite of how I used to watch television.
But also, it used to be, the sci-fi show, the big budget primetime sci-fi show was such a rarity that there was until the 90s, until we had multiple iterations of Star Trek at the same time. That 90s era is when we started getting the proliferation. But before that, it was so rare. You would have one show maybe on one network that was a reasonable sci-fi thing, and it was like, and it usually wasn't that great, didn't last that long.
Right, it lasted 13 episodes.
Yeah, totally.
And maybe they burned 2 of them at the end as a special movie of the week.
Yeah, and now it's an embarrassment of riches of
Right.
nostalgia and science fiction. Like, do we want to watch the Dune reboot, the Star Trek reboot, the Star Wars reboot, or the Halo re-envisioning?
Sure, yeah.
You know?
I was thinking about that the other day because I lost the habit of Halo. We went camping over Memorial Day, and so my kid and I actually, every time we get a Halo thing, we're like, you know, watch Halo or just go to Dave and Buster's. And so speaking of embarrassment of riches, it's like, do you want to passively watch a narrative, or do you want to go bang some guys? I got.
Do you want to watch Halo, or do you want to go be Halo?
Right.
Let's go do Halo right now. We can actually, literally, I can go play it right now. I can be Master Chief.
Right. Exactly. So.
And I don't have to see his butt, as far as I know.
But that's just amazing to me, that me personally, as an old timey fan, where I was like, oh my God, Buck Rogers got renewed for season 2.
Yes.
And that was like better than Christmas to me. And now it's just like there's a friggin' identical Halo show with great actors, people I like working on it, and I'm like, I'll get to it. Like what kind of world is that? Right?
And what other world we're in is where we've got reboots of multiple times rebooted, like Ghostbusters in a couple years gets rebooted 3, 4, a couple times. But there's still, where is the new Buck Rogers? Where's a new Flash Gordon?
Yeah.
And where's a new, what was the other one I was thinking about I really wanted? Oh, Greatest American Hero is the one that I've been waiting for forever. But
I just think, I don't know. It's hard now to say what Hollywood is doing because there's so many content channels now but I really think that the whole place is trying to walk a tightrope between originality and brand awareness because there's so much goddamn money involved. Nobody wants to take crazy risks,
right?
But they also want to be perceived as original. It's a weird tightrope. So, but that's why you get Top Gun 2 and Stranger Things and 80s stuff all at once, because that's just how it goes.
So, riding that wave.
Yeah, exactly.
And until we're just waiting for that next thing to hit, that'll break it all wide open again, and it'll be.
Nobody will see it coming, right? Would you have thought that, like, for 18 years, like, that Hillbilly Kirkman comes up with like a zombie show that lasts forever, and they keep spinning stuff off, and you can get, Walking Dead Monopoly? Like, you just never know what's going to hit. So, but that's a tightrope. What's the next big thing?
We need a new
pirates
Western.
are the new monkeys.
We need a new Western, or we need a new. What do we need? What's the genre that we haven't seen for so long?
Well, I would have said this whole place needs an Astronauts in Trouble show until For All Mankind came out. Like, oh my God, that show is the shit. It is so good. You need to watch it. I was trying to not bring it up until Price got here, but who knows? Where's the new Space 1999? Yes.
It would be great. I always wish they would do something like that, like come out with a Space 1999 and then make it like, do it current, but then make it retro. So make it like the old vision of what we thought the future would be, and where we could just get everything
right
a little wrong,
That's a spectacular like experiment or assignment for an art school, right? Take a picture of like Jane Fonda as Barbarella and go, hey, this was 1965 and it's 2022 now. What does this suit look like? Like, so you're asking them to design like in their minds like a whole like evolution until they get to the last thing. Oh my God. If I was Elon Musk, that's what I would just take my money around and do. I would be like the Iron Man of English majors.
Mine would be getting to this. Mine would be getting to Greatest American Hero before we already lost Bill Maxwell, right? Which was so core to my vision, Larry. It's one of the few things, like I have a whole treatment for the return of the Greatest American Hero.
Well, keep that dream alive, man, because Robert Culp has a body of work. It's not going to be too many years before you can just scan them in there and
maybe true. Yeah, maybe true. Hey, speaking of a body of work, holy cow!
Being scanned in, right?
And being let's. I got a hailing frequency out there from a Dr. John E. Price, PhD. Let's energize and bring him in. Johnny, what's happening, buddy?
He is.
Are you there yet? Not your stern. I didn't like this episode of Star Trek Space, or are we frozen?
He's in Virginia stasis.
Okay, I'm gonna pull him out till I see his face start waving around again. Anyway, back to Greatest American Hero, Larry.
Anyway,
so I took it and I just shamelessly cribbed from Miracle Man. So it was sort of like Ralph, and I took the idea of taking everything from the series in perfect canon, like it all happened. The ninja with the laser gun.
Right. I gotcha. I think that's the only thing you can do. Everything.
Did you ever see the Greatest American Heroine?
I don't think so.
So in the end, they spun it off. He gave the suit to a hot chick. And
that
was going to be the new series.
Yeah,
and
I knew that existed, but I didn't watch it.
Well, so in my treatment, not to just go totally off the rails here, but I'm going to. Ralph Hinckley's back being a teacher again, and Holly has been fighting the war. She won the Cold War for us with Bill Maxwell.
Excellent.
But then she's dead, and Bill Maxwell's lost an eye and lost an arm, and it was brutal. It was so ripped off from Alan Moore. And
I was gonna say you're reading a lot of Frank Miller, I guess, right?
Oh, it totally was.
Peerless Loser says Gilligan's Planet for Danny McBride. Already, I don't even just green light. I don't even need to read anymore.
Well, there was a Gilligan's Planet. Did you ever see Gilligan's Planet, the cartoon series?
No.
There was a Saturday morning show called Gilligan's Planet.
Was it really?
Yeah.
All right.
That seems like a Larry show if there ever was one.
Just
Larry cartoon. Okay, John.
I think that's probably
John.
Yeah.
I just don't believe
he's moving.
No, he's not. We lost him.
We lost him again. Oh, man.
Peerless, don't worry. It's not too late to try. This was a very failed. I think there might have been only like a couple episodes of Gilligan's.
I've never heard of that. Although that's hilarious, right? Because weren't they in Far Out Space Nuts?
Oh, this is good. I never saw the heroine. Holly Hunter, I think. No, not Holly Hunter. It was Holly something.
Oh, dude, if it was Holly Hunter.
Wasn't.
No, I bet it was. Because, Sandra Bullock was like the bionic girl.
Huh.
She had a bionic dog.
But the character's name was Holly something. It was an alliterative Holly something. Speaking of which, that's the other one. Where's our $6 billion man? They've been talking about that one for the last 30 years. You know about this, right? I don't.
So Kevin Smith took a stab at it.
That I knew.
And that I thought I didn't read it, but I thought his little bit that he's called the $6 million man because that's the bounty on his head, right? I was like, that's pretty cool. I like
that's not bad.
And then Mark Wahlberg got it, and Universal's like, yes, Mark, you're our guy, and he's just getting older, Yeah. I don't know. I hope they do it, but.
Without a Lee Majors, it's tough to pull off. I'm just gonna say.
I think Mark Wahlberg, 15 years ago would have been great. Just that, square jawed. I'm not real smart, so I'm going to jump over this wall in slow motion. Yeah. Sell it.
Something about that guy, I'm not so into.
Wahlberg's.
Wait a minute. I got something here. Just a second. Here we go.
Are you going to try to play the Greatest American Hero?
No, but I'm going to show this. Sorry. Sorry, Peerless.
I love how it's just all the Gilligan people sitting on a sphere. Like what is? Oh, look, he's got an alien buddy.
There's an alien buddy. Yeah.
You know? It's like, no, these people all need to be in bikinis and spacesuits.
Ginger's blonde though. That's a little weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Um,
We dig on comedy in our house, and my kid sent me a link to this comedian named Samatha Hale, and it was funny. It was okay, and he said watch it till the end, and she could kind of tell she wasn't bombing really, but she wasn't getting big laughs, and she's like, yeah, well, that's what happens when you're the granddaughter of the skipper, and I was like, oh my god, she's Alan Hale's granddaughter.
Oh, okay.
So I was like that, and I was like, it must be neat to have that in your pocket when you're not getting a laugh, because if you just say that in a really like disaffected way, you get a big laugh from people. Yes, your accident of birth to this beloved sitcom character from 50 years ago.
I think Danny McBride. Didn't he do Land of the Lost? No, that was Will Ferrell.
Yes, yeah, no.
McBride was in it too.
McBride's in it. You know what? I fucking love that movie. I don't know why it was horrible, but I
think it's because they didn't take the Slee Stacks very seriously, Larry. I'm going to be real with you for a minute. They didn't treat it with the gravitas that Sid and Marty Krofft did. You know what I mean? It was like I was on the edge of my seat every weekend with that stuff.
I hope you're not being sarcastic, because that shit with Enoch and the pyramid, that was some heavy tension.
I'm serious. No, I am serious. Yeah, and they played it kind of for laughs. I didn't see the movie, but I just didn't feel like
they kind of don't. If anything, they made the Slee Stack scarier.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's what I'm saying. Like that movie's a lot better than the rep it got, especially now. It's got a little, the falling into the other dimension. It's another dimension, multiverse thing.
Yeah, totally.
So, like they end up in the sand, and there's like a plane and like a hippie van, and it's pretty cool stuff from all other times. World War II planes. I don't know. So that explains the dinosaurs.
Sure, they could have mashed it up with. I don't know. Those Sid and Marty Krofft shows were just so.
So we were talking before the show that you're the youngest of four.
Yeah.
I was an older brother, and I had a sister that was 2 years younger than me, and I was pretty good older brother, but I was every once in a while I'd sort of cross the line, and we loved Land of the Lost. My sister's name's Lisa, and one of the main characters, whenever they talked about warning about the Slee Stacks coming, they would go, Salisataka, just like that. That's a killer thing. If you know Land of the Lost, you'd be like, did Larry just have that dubbed? No, that's perfect. And it would scare the shit out of my sister, because all she hears is these, Chaka, I think it would say that little monkey thing, saying her name in the middle of something for some reason. And I was like, no, she's saying Slee Stack, but it's Salisa. That's his accent. So I would do that 3 times a day. I would just like go up behind her and go, Salisa Taka. Anyway, so that's probably why I love that stupid Hollywood version of it, because I got to see real Salisa Takas running around in it.
I had real affection for it just because it was like nothing else you got to see on Saturday mornings or on TV at all, really. Like they just took it to such a crazy, surreal level. And I loved Electro Woman and Dyna Girl, like anything, Slipman and the Sea Monsters, anything that came out from them was incredibly like watchable, like candy.
At the height of their powers, I just found this out the other day. Anthony Taylor is a pal of the show, pal of us. Lives in Atlanta, and he posted up a thing from old time Atlanta in the 70s. Sid and Marty Krofft had caused to be constructed in the Atlanta airport, if I got that right, this giant roller coaster ride kind of thing that mimicked being in the playfield of a pinball machine.
Okay.
And it's real life. People could sit in the ball, and that was the transporter thing.
Dude, awesome.
And I was like, Sid and Marty Krofft. That's just such an amazing thing.
Do they give you like a pot brownie before you get in that thing too? Just
God, one hopes, right?
complete the experience.
If not, I mean, people shared a lot in the old days. I'm sure there was somebody in line that was holding.
Yeah, those were the good old days, man. We didn't have too much, but
back when our beards were darker, right?
Dude, I was just looking at a picture of me from 10 years ago, and it was just like a jet black. I couldn't believe it.
My
kids,
my wife and kid are visiting the grandmother, the great grandmother, and so Walker texted me a picture of us that's framed in her house from our wedding, where like I have hair and no beard, and he was just like, he thinks that's the funniest thing ever because he's never seen me like that.
Totally. Hey, what about this, Larry? You've been watching this. I've heard good things about this. This is just another thing where there's so much good TV. It's hard to watch any.
I was just gonna say that speaks to our point of like, I'll get around to it. Like, I know that's Ridley Scott. I know it's on season 2, and it's just I haven't seen it, but it looks amazing. I can't wait to watch it. Maybe I'll start tonight.
Yeah, there's quite a few things. There's one Love. I think it's called Love, Death, and Robots, an animated series.
Yeah,
I'm meaning to watch.
I always want to watch Black Mirror, but I never do until somebody goes, just watch this episode, and then I watch that episode, and it's great, and I'm like, thank you for curating my experience. I don't know how to watch television anymore.
There's some bad ones, but from that first season or two, they were all pretty good.
The only one I remember is the Star Trek one where it's a game.
Yeah, that one was great, but the guy's a total asshole.
Right.
Wait, I got a book right now. I had it here somewhere, man. I got mailed a copy of a hardcover book. I don't have it right now. It must be in the car. Anyway, it's all about the history of underground comics. Like, it's a full hardcover novel. It's not even out yet. Like, release date's coming from a real author. Like, they mailed me and asked if I wanted to cover it, and then sent me an advanced copy of the book.
Isn't that, if I said the author's name, would you know? Would you remember?
Maybe.
That's not Alex Segura, is it?
I don't think so. It's a guy who writes for Reason magazine.
No, that might be Alex. I know he was working
30 Pictures.
Huh. Anyway, that's cool.
It's not out yet. So anyway, I'm reading that, and I'm pretty well versed on that stuff. But he goes way deep, dude. He talks about fanzines and stuff that Art Spiegelman and Crumb used to like. They were like sort of like second tier Mad magazines, and people would just mail them around to each other, like early zine scene stuff.
Yeah.
I hadn't even heard of most of it. It's really fascinating.
That's especially from being from around here, that was a thing, man. Even when I started to when I came to San Francisco and started doing marketing for Hibbs, that was 95, and zines were a real like going concern
for sure
then. So zines lasted a long time.
They never really died. They're still out there.
But you know what? It's websites killed it, right? Because that's zines now. It's the websites. That's all.
Although I got a great new one, I don't have it here, called Gutter Hunter, and it's sort of like a history of like dirty comics, and history gets in print form. There's sort of a resurgence of this stuff that's been nice. The new Wizard with an E magazine. We'll probably look at that in an upcoming.
Wizard magazine with an E.
With an E, yeah. We'll look. We got to
look at the end or in the middle. Wizard.
Yeah, and dude, it's thick. It's by those guys. By that dude Eli cool. That we interviewed, that we've talked to before. They did the darker image stuff.
Oh, Eli. Yeah. Oh my God, I should have even guessed that. That's totally his sense of humor. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's his new one.
Hey, was that me or you? I just heard like crazy microphone scratch.
Could be me.
Anyway, so are we done with Star Trek? Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, Space Station 76. All right, I've been trying to watch this movie.
I don't know that one.
For like 2 years. Liv Tyler's in it. It's based on Patrick Wilson, the guy who played the Owlman in Zack Snyder's Watchmen. He was just in Moonfall, which was a great movie. But yeah, so this is like, that kind of speaks to our point from earlier where we were like, what's the design thing? Like if you did to now, so this is basically a modern thing that looks like they were trying to do a funky riff on Space 1999, that kind of thing, like just like white lucite hallways that are lit from behind the wall, that kind of stuff.
Really cool. A good example of that stuff. What was that movie where the Nazis?
Iron Sky.
Yeah, the Nazis had that face on the moon. That's what I love.
I just love playing. I can name that ridiculous, obscure sci-fi movie reference in one note.
Seriously, I didn't even get through the high pitch, the high concept pitch.
I didn't even let you get it out. It's because I knew what you were talking about. Well, because Iron Sky fits in this whole scene. That's why.
Or what about Sky Captain?
Hey,
remember that? Remember Sky Captain?
I do. Look at Extreme Hot Dog yells Larry Young. That's my kid from where are they? Cincinnati. If it's Friday.
Oh yeah, cool.
Hey, buddy, stay out of trouble.
What's happening, dude? What's
up, what mommy says.
Walker, we're bringing you on. We're bringing you on the show when you get back. We're bringing you in, pal. We want those hot takes from the youth, right? These old dudes, like you see, we need a thumbnail with a young dude going like, and something Star Trekky. With me and Larry, it's like two old guys, sad and disappointed.
That time he sat in for Price one time so that was like a big deal for us.
That was our demographic shift starting from that episode. That's when we started going to the moon, as they say.
The young kids liked it. I actually talked to him today. He gave me the okay to watch TV while he was gone, because we usually like jam out together watching stuff, and he's like, "No, Teddy, go ahead."
Okay, so what's exciting coming up? Sandman is pretty exciting to me coming up. I know it's not to you.
Yeah, it's not. I'm sure it will be great for the.
I'm unsure that it will be great, Larry.
No, they've been. You know why I know? Because Neil's been working on that for 30 years, and whenever something smells off to him, he goes, "Nope, I'm waiting until it's perfect." So, if he's given the okay, which he has, and he's worked on everything, he proves of everything. I think it's ready to go.
And it's getting all the hate for all the wrong reasons. Can you believe they're trying to make Desire non-binary, Larry? I can't.
Oh yeah, I don't. I
was like, did you read the comic, guys? That is the definition of that character.
I was gonna say that. I think that's where most of comic book fans found out what non-binary was.
Exactly.
That character. Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
The one that I was like, okay, so Death is an African American girl now, and everybody's got a problem with that, and like of course they have a problem with that because they're all stupid racists, right? Like, doesn't Death look different to everybody else?
Duh, that's it.
I mean, so that's what Death looks like now. I mean, what's the big goddamn deal? The hate.
I'd be more offended by a goth, white, pasty goth chick coming to me and like, what? I don't know.
I would only be offended because that's not what I think Death should look like. Like, I would be offended if it wasn't like Sam Elliott on fire, or like 1970s Warren Beatty, like in a tuxedo and a martini. I'd probably, if Death looks like anything other than those two guys, I don't want anything to do with it. But not for that, project. Do what you want, Neil. Just Death in general as a concept.
Yeah,
the Grim Reaper.
I loved Neil Gaiman's conception of Death, of what that character was, and how she would never really show you what happens with Death when she would come for somebody. And it was always very clear that it was like, it's whatever you make it to. The person who's dying, you are pretty much get to choose what is going to happen when you die. To me, that's the thing. If you lived your whole life in fear of like going to hell and are secretly guilty or whatever, you're going to burn in hell. Sorry, dude.
I just liked that whenever that came out, I was like in my early 30s. And for some reason, I was like, oh, yeah, I get what he's doing. That's cool. I wasn't like a rabid fan, but I kept up.
Me neither. Yeah, me neither.
And now, like, I'm 2 years away from 60, and I just don't even care at all.
That's the thing. He's had a couple
Just
adaptations.
like, who cares?
He's had a couple adaptations recently that didn't seem to land too well.
My problem with escapist entertainment as a 58-year-old guy is that I have an awesome life. So what am I trying to escape from?
That
right?
might be the big
So
problem.
all the escapism that really worked for me as a boy, like, I'm okay. Like, oh, nobody listens to me, and I need to listen to The Cure because everything's, yeah, okay, I get the rebellious teenager thing, but like, that's not me. So my escapism has to have bikinis and spacesuits and explosions now, and just be full on 100% adrenaline from beginning to end. I don't care what the good guy wants. I don't care why he wants it. I just want him to get what he wants, and then call it a day.
Do you think that's the reason that we're so just mired in nostalgia, is that people from your generation and my generation, whatever, we never stopped being fans? Like the stuff that's like when we were young, the stuff was kind of for kids, and it wasn't pretended not to be. Like it was, Star Trek was written with pretensions or whatever, but they know firmly like kids should be able to watch this and enjoy it. All ages, kind of family-ish entertainment. And then now all those dudes grew up, and then they want Captain Kirk to have an identity crisis, and they want there to be secret, they want everything to be they want like me, like they want it to all be corrupt, and it was never that vision of beauty and perfection we thought it was, right?
Right.
And so then you make something that's not for kids, but not for adults. You're stuck in, what was it Howard Chaykin was saying? Like, this is, we've got a society that is raised on reading YA fiction, essentially, and everything they watch and read and everything, we're steeped in YA. And so that it's never, we're just lacking the depth of stuff that you saw in the 70s or whatever.
Yeah, there's no nuance in young adult stuff.
I totally agree. I guess now, but yeah, there's not the real, like, there's nothing, they can't be as subversive as I want to see. I don't know. There's just sort of a gloss on things. And then you're trying to appeal to this huge fandom of grown-up dudes like you and me who are like, this is not the Buck Rogers I remember. Like,
I had a pretty interesting comment about that. Like, age doesn't really come up that much. So I'm really interested to have this conversation with you. But with this other kid, he was like just ripping on Obi-Wan. Like, yeah, this is nonsense and all that stuff. He's like, what do you think? You're all that, like, failure analysis guy that tells you what's wrong with everything. I'm like, dude, I'm 58. I'm just glad that there's some cool Star Wars on.
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand. Like, you would wait 3 years in between Star Wars things. And it was a cool movie, but then you watch that movie over and over for 3 years waiting for the next one, which is why I can quote it.
I got a message from John Price that just says, sorry, my goddamn internet.
Yeah, we miss you, John.
It happens. For you Dr. John fans out there, we'll have him back. We'll bring him back for sure.
Yeah, he just didn't make the ship. Too much sorry and brandy on Ryza.
So this is the point that Howard Chaykin made too. He said that his generation of writers, and he said that to him, that's now everybody 60 and older. So Larry, you're in the bad generation. You're just on the cusp of the bad generation.
I'm not. Howard's
he said that like his folks.
He's like 10 years older than
they didn't grow up reading sci-fi and stuff. They were made for whatever, just because of academia and the way it was. They had to read all the classics, so they were well versed. They had this common knowledge of the classics and whatnot.
Right. No,
their foundation that they could build on top of. That they're saying, and he's saying everybody now is just built on top of the last 7 reboots of something.
Well, speaking of, Star Trek from the old days, I was just having this conversation with my kid about the episodes are just full of Shakespeare. And even if they're not, the titles are like Conscience of the King and All Our Yesterdays. And, it's just, Bread and Circuses might even be a Shakespeare.
Star Trek loved to just fetishize it. Even into Next Generation, they were quoting Shakespeare at the yin yang.
But the cool thing was that was a kids' adventure show, and the conceit was people would have at least a familiarity. Like they might not have read Macbeth, they might not have quoted, all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death, but they would get that was probably a Shakespeare reference, right? Which people don't know who Bob Hope is now. Like, they're not going to get Shakespeare references.
My favorite thing in those Next Generation episodes would be when like the Klingons would drop an old Klingon proverb, and it was a Shakespearean thing.
Yeah.
And I used to wonder, were they doing that to make fun, to say that this? Because I've said this about Shakespeare before. I love Shakespeare's poetry. I love the language. I enjoy. They're kind of sitcom-y plots, most of his plays and stuff, and they were made for the people of the time to like have something to sit and watch. They were like entertainment for the common people, and you would watch them. So it was not much different than you or me watching TV.
Right.
But then we get to now, and in an English class, they like assign you Romeo and Juliet to read and analyze. It's totally missing the point. As if they would assign like the script to Star Wars to talk about Star Wars.
You could do that though. That's what I think is neat about that, is that with a good teacher presenting it, that you could make it seem like especially maybe not, teenager or above, probably you would need to be the student to do this, but you get like a script from a Tim Allen, Home Improvement or something. Just like the most banal, like Big Bang Theory or something. And then put that next to, Merchant of Venice or something. And there would be narrative parallels.
Oh, for sure.
That's what makes Shakespeare so badass, right? Because he invented all of that. And it's basically the sitcoms of its day, right? Like you were saying.
Yeah.
Maybe the blockbuster too, all put together. It was like that was your media presentation.
Oh, totally.
Day, all right.
And to the point where it was taught so much, and I'll say fetishized in academia, to the point where Shakespeare, things he wrote in the plays have become part of our language, right? And we always say them and not even realize not necessarily where they came from. But I think it was because just this I don't know, over reverence. I just felt it was a waste of time, the amount of time we spent on Shakespeare in high school, when there's so many books, so many great, I don't want to just say American books, but so many great books in the literary canon out there that we could be exploring with deep themes. And
I
too much emphasis.
I get what you're saying, but even the the newest teacher, the lamest sub, is going to get that teaching Shakespeare in English class is, and not teaching Shakespeare in English class would like be trying to teach a religion class without referring to the Bible. I mean, that's where it all came from.
I'll give you that.
So that's why you get your Romeo and Juliet or Taming of the Shrew if you're lucky. Or The Tempest. That was another good one in high school. See, but I was an English major, so I read I read like 5.
Yeah, so you read it all anyway.
And I was happy about
it. To me, the thing that moved me more than anything I ever read, probably in my life, even to this day, but definitely then, was Huckleberry Finn.
Oh yeah, right on.
Like it was like astoundingly like on a level I didn't expect it to go. Where it's really it's an anti-religion, it's anti-religious, and it's so subversive in its nature. It's almost unbelievable that it's as popular as it is.
I love Twain. He's one of those American literary Renaissance guys that he's awesome.
Oh, anyway. And that's what made me think of him. Just yesterday, somebody was talking about a Mark Twain book. Maybe you've read it, and I have not. Where he makes an argument that humans are like mechanistic, and we don't have any real free will, and that it's all just kind of like deterministic. I got to find the name of that, and I got to read it. It was blowing my mind.
Man, Peerless Loser is lighting up the
totally. The cultural phenomenon of Shakespeare in his time is fascinating as hell, but the interesting aspect aren't what they focus on. I agree with this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's hard to like criticize though. I'm such a big fan of making kids read Shakespeare. It's like, you don't even know. You'll look back on this and thank us.
Yeah, I think it's worth reading. I especially think Romeo and Juliet was pretty cool for when we read it, like as a freshman, I think in high school. That was a pretty decent time to read that one, if only because like your main characters end up dead at the end. Like they don't do that anymore. You know what I mean? We don't have depressing ending movies like that anymore. Although maybe that brings us back to last night's Star Trek.
That was, you could say, it was a very Shakespearean ending to that. My the thing about I'm sorry, I was going to give a shout out to my English teacher. She like lubed up the whole class because she taught us, had us reading the not soliloquies, the sonnets. The
sonnets.
And then she taught us the whole iambic pentameter thing and watch for this. And like, it was just like, and she was so like into it. It was like Marty McFly going, okay, there's going to be a shift change in G. Come on and watch me for the change. It was kind of like that. And then she dropped Romeo and Juliet on us. So we had kind of like a grounding of
you got
what we were reading, so right on.
The sonnets for sure, I think, are worth exploring in high school too, because they're poetic for poetry's sake. But it's just when you take a kid, especially kids in high school, this wasn't a problem in my class necessarily, but you take kids that like don't really want to read anyway, like they're not, and then you make them read this stuff that's ostensibly in English, but you're just not smart enough to understand what they're saying, kid. Like
it is, it's pretty daunting.
It's daunting to and if you don't have the right teacher too, as well as the right kind of kids learning it, it's pretty tough. I want to check this out. It sounds interesting. Highbrow, lowbrow.
Oh my God, this poor Peerless Loser. I literally just said, yeah, you're lighting it up, man. Thanks very much for all this stuff to talk about. And he's like, you don't have to acknowledge me. I'm like, we did. That's awesome.
Diarrhea. I only acknowledge when there's something worth acknowledging for sure. And there's plenty.
We might be
thank you for your contribution.
Yeah, no, I love everybody in the and I'm trying to think of what Philo wrote.
Yeah, this has got to be one of those Shakespearean.
It's to be or not to be, probably.
Yeah, it's got to be. Something like
I love how Klingons, like, I don't know if there's a function of like the rhythm of barking out those syllables or what they're wearing, but do you ever notice like whenever they talk, they bounce up and down? It's like, like you patalk. It's just like,
well, wait a minute.
Anyway, I just found myself doing that. I'm like, maybe it's just that the physical act of trying to speak Klingon makes you like puff up.
Well, last week.
Quatloos! Ciao do rectablich.
Skid tricks your von flunk. Edgy techratic slugs. Rash socks. Crobratic slugs.
Rectablich.
Man, I'd love you find that stuff.
Oh well, I got another one, a super shorty for the end of this week's episode. We're getting there pretty cool. We're pretty close to there, Larry.
I just like how I can kind of phonetically sound out Klingon. I'm like, yeah.
I've got a Klingon dictionary at home that
really?
I've had for 20 years. Yeah, 30 years now at least, probably.
Oh, is that might be the original though, Mark Estrom one, right?
I think it was like the second edition, something like that I had.
That's awesome.
It's pretty old.
Okay, I like how we basically talked about everything but Star Trek.
Well,
This only had like a limited, a usual amount of Star Trek in this conversation.
I'm gonna try and pin myself down and say on this episode, like, let's try and like stack rank them a little bit here. You loved the last episode. You said that's like the best episode of Star Trek.
Yes, that's still a week later. I still kind of think maybe Darmok is the best one ever, but this one is in the conversation for best one ever.
That's up there with Arena, Larry. You putting it on there?
I agree. I think it is. I really do, for what it's trying to do in the modern day, right? Like all the Kurtzman Star Treks are under a pressure that no previous Star Trek had, and that's the weight of all the previous Star Treks.
Yes.
You know what I mean? None of the other shows cared at all. Maybe Next Gen, but that was like an economic pressure, right? They're like, now it's money where its mouth is kind of thing. And this is, we did the thing with the movies and fuck, So I get there might be some pressure on that. But all the other ones are like, let's put on another Star Trek, see what happens. That was well received. Let's put on another one. And you can tell. But this one is like, Star Trek goes away if we don't ace this.
I feel like they felt the pressure on.
Yeah.
Like there was a meeting. I think there've been a lot of meetings lately in corporate America. They're like, look.
There was a meeting.
They're like, look, guys, social justice and all your, we love it still, but bottom line, guys, bottom line is what it has to come down to. I feel like that discussion happened a lot, and maybe it's for the good. I mean, everybody knows Star Trek is a pro social justice show. Like at its heart, that's what it is. So it doesn't need to be as in your face about it, it's on the nose about it, I guess, as we've seen it being.
You got to watch For All Mankind, so we can talk about that.
That's Apple TV, right?
Yeah.
Yet another service I got to sign up. I was so happy, like you don't have a cable bill anymore. But if you're subscribing to all the services, you're right back to cable bill territory. I
don't want to sound like I'm trying to talk you into anything, but you get your money's worth out of Apple TV. There's like, Tom Hanks movies, Ted Lasso. There's this show called Morning Show. It's excellent. Plus like 3 seasons of For All Mankind, which is literally USA Today said today, best show on television.
Whoa.
And so check this out. This patch is now President Wilson's Jamestown 81 patch. And it has Young. Where is it? Young and Walker.
Nice.
So I had to make a Young jacket.
Beautiful, Larry. Well,
anyway, if you ever wonder what would happen if the Russians landed on the moon first.
That's the high concept.
That each season is about 10 years, and we're in 1992 right now. And America, Russia, and basically Elon Musk are teaming up to see who gets to Mars first. And if you believe the rumors, something bad's going to happen to one of the crew. And instead of being a competition, it's a fight for survival of the human race all season long with spacesuits and bikinis. Yeah, it's incredible, man.
So it's a period piece that like started in the 60s and went
so it's basically Right Stuff with 2 other guys that the crazy shit's going to happen to. But hey, this guy didn't die in a training accident, and Apollo 1 didn't happen until later, and that affected the weather and this stuff. And then pretty soon, if you know the high points of what happens, it's like what Gary Hart had 2 terms as president in the 80s. That's crazy. Stuff like that starts
little things that would have been totally.
Like John Lennon didn't get shot. He's a political activist now. And Simon and Garfunkel didn't get back together in Central Park, but the Beatles did. So stuff like that like is just cute. It doesn't really impact the story.
Yeah, butterfly effect, kind of like little differences in time. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, go broke his country. Now, so this, I hate this. I hate it, man.
Yeah, I don't even pay attention to that.
Well, I hate the term woke as a pejorative. I've talked about this before because I go, they're using it like snidely, derisively, but in so many ways it is the correct term, and that even those, especially those who are against it, they are the ones waking up to this stuff kind of for the first time, because those of us, like I said, like people like us from the Bay Area or San Francisco, you heard that shit your whole life. Howard Zinn, they were teaching that in kindergarten. And right. So like that, none of that is new, but to a vast swath of the country, it is brand new stuff to say like the founding fathers were not perfect people and they're white supremacists or whatever they were.
I just don't, people can talk about what they want, but like I'd rather have an argument about, revitalizing dilithium crystals. Like, it's like if you're mad, like this, I'm with you on the woke thing. It's like if you know what that means, I don't see how you're against it, right?
Yeah.
It's like it means like you're awake, like whatever that means to you.
This is better. This is better. I'm not trying to put you down at all, Warren. I really not, because it's that term is getting thrown around all over the place, and I think the problem is just it's bad writing. Is all I can say. It's just bad writing.
Lazy.
Those themes are all correct, and it's actually hurting their cause when you write things in a lazy, ham-fisted way, right? Like you're not helping your cause. Totally agree. Larry, you're one of those dirty San Francisco anti-hippies who just threw out all your woke DA and all that stuff, right?
Oh, dude, man, there's a reason for it. They got people mad. It's not, you can't use San Francisco as an example of anything, because it's really very specific to what's going on. There are people that, like, I don't know. It's like whatever you're into, there's not just the club, but we have a parade for it. Yeah. So yes, it's kind of hard to pin down stuff. And the what happened, we weren't throwing out a progressive. We were throwing out an ineffectual idiot,
a fucking bozo, right? Yes.
So that's why it was like 60%, because conservatives, no, he wasn't doing the job. Like liberals, wasn't doing the job. Moderates, wasn't doing the job. That adds up. So
and really overall, it's left-wing type people a lot in San Francisco. Duh. I'm not shocking anybody by saying that.
Yeah.
But dude, plenty of really wealthy people that even if they are outwardly liberal, like virtue signaling, economically and in their neighborhood, when you got shit going down in your neighborhood and you got people camped out in front of you and they're smashing windows and that kind of stuff, law and order, that's how that's how the right wing forces take control through those kind of law and order campaigns. You got to keep order in your town.
For me personally, just the voter, right? I'm a guy who reads the papers. I'm not rabid about it. It's just the thing I keep up with because it's fun, right? The thing that got me was one of the fucking Safeways that I go to. I know exactly where this happened. I've been parked in this spot. This old lady with a pretty nice car drives in, parks, goes to get her groceries. She comes out, and there's 3, ute, and they try to steal her car. A guy comes to try to help this old lady, ends up busting like the back window somehow. The kids take off with the car. There's like this 75-year-old woman in the street or in the parking lot. This other guy's like busted up. They call the cops. They catch the people because they're just idiot kids. It goes really wrong, right? And nothing happens. Like the old lady's in the hospital. Nope, we're just gonna they didn't mean it. They're good kids.
Oh,
so that hit everyone because, especially in my neighborhood, because we all have parked there and
that could be you, yeah,
exactly. And there was just nothing. They were and then they overcorrected, right? They're like, well, this is exactly the kind of thing that shows that we're doing good in the world, and we're diverting them. And it's like, no, but you're just telling everybody it doesn't matter that you can knock an old lady over the head and try to steal her car, and there's no consequences because we're good kids. So that impacted everybody in my neighborhood I talked to.
Yeah, and that's when you nailed it. Then you get an overcorrection, and then you get and this is where some say police departments in the wake of all the riots we had during pandemic and such, they're just like, okay, fine, we're going to stop responding calls. We're actually just going to see what happens when we do pull out of these communities. And so it's like using, I don't know, putting the average person just in harm's way as a pawn in a freaking political chess game. It's disgusting.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And that's why there's the beach has encroached on the highway that is the only north-south thoroughfare on the west side of the city. Yeah, dude, there's a 12-foot dune across the southbound lane.
And that's still no sign of that getting cleared up?
Yeah, they're just because they're doing that. Like, hey, let's see what happens. Like, I don't know what they're waiting to see what happened. All the people are going to get mad and like save up and get like a surplus Soviet bomb and just blow the shit up because like that. How are you supposed to move this? That's a sand dune now.
Yeah.
And now we don't have a highway. So, all right. What are you going to do? Let's see what happens. You know what's going to happen? Nobody gets reelected.
Well, Larry, I think what they should do, and I gotta get us out of here.
Yeah, man, we went like super political.
I love it. That's where we got to go.
Thanks for sticking with us, everybody.
But I've got the solution, I think, Larry. This clip, it's extremely short, extremely Star Trek related. But maybe this is the way, instead of elections, okay, I'm reaching here to make a connection, but instead of elections, we're going to install this new technique for making decisions in our city, okay? We'll see you guys. Wait a minute. We're going to be back. There's more Star Trek Strange New World episodes. Oh, yes. We will be back. I'm game for next Friday, Larry. You got any certain time in mind?
I'm thinking Fridays at noon.
But where, Larry? Where?
On the internet.
I wager 400 Quatloos on the newcomer.